There was a time when doubt didn't come from people around me. It came from me. I didn't need anyone to tell me I wasn't good enough. I was already doing that job myself, quietly, constantly, in ways no one else could hear. From the outside, I looked like I was trying, like I was moving forward, like I had at least some belief in what I was doing. Inside, it was different. I questioned everything, not loudly, not dramatically, just enough to slow myself down. I didn't feel special. I didn't feel talented. I didn't feel like someone who was meant to make it. I felt average, replaceable. Like if I stopped trying, nothing in the world would change. And that thought stays with you. Because when you don't believe in yourself, every step feels fake. Every effort feels like pretending. You wonder if you're chasing something real or just lying to yourself because you don't know what else to do. That's where my journey really started. Not with confidence, not with ambition, with doubt. I remember wanting to believe badly. I wanted to feel that internal push people talk about, that certainty, that sense of direction, but it never came. Instead, there was this constant internal question: who do you think you are to want this? I would see others move with confidence and assume they had something I didn't, something internal, something natural, something I missed. I compared myself endlessly, not just my results, my mindset, not just my progress, my worth. And every comparison ended the same way. I came up short. That's the dangerous part of self-doubt. It doesn't scream, it reasons with you, it sounds logical, it makes you believe you're being realistic when you're actually limiting yourself. I told myself things like, maybe I'm not built for this. Maybe this works for other people. Maybe I should stop before I embarrass myself. And the worst part, those thoughts felt responsible. They felt like maturity, like self-awareness, like I was saving myself from future disappointment. But really, I was protecting myself from trying fully, because trying fully without belief feels terrifying. If you fail after believing, it hurts more. If you fail after doubting, you can tell yourself you expected it. So I lived in that space, trying but not committing, working but not trusting it would matter, moving but always ready to pull back. I wasn't lazy. I was afraid of believing and being wrong, and that fear doesn't make you stop immediately. It makes you hesitate. It makes every step heavier. It makes progress slower. It makes the journey exhausting before it even begins. I didn't talk about this to anyone, because how do you explain that you don't even trust yourself? That the loudest doubt isn't external, it's internal? People assume lack of support comes from outside. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes the hardest support to find is your own. I kept going during that phase, but not with strength, with tension. Every action felt like it needed justification. Every effort felt like it needed permission. I was constantly asking myself if I was allowed to want more than what I had. And that question, am I allowed, is heavy. But something inside me didn't quit. Not because I believed in myself, because quitting felt permanent. I didn't trust success, but I didn't trust giving up either. And between those two, I chose the one that at least kept the door open. That was the only belief I had. Not belief in success, belief in myself, just belief that stopping would lock me into regret. So I stayed, confused, doubting, unsure. And that's important to say, because most people think you need belief to begin. You don't. Sometimes all you need is discomfort with the alternative. And that's where this story really starts. Not with confidence, but with the quiet decision to continue even when I didn't trust myself yet. There's a difference between working hard and working without belief. Working hard can feel energizing. Working without belief feels heavy. I showed up every day without the internal push people talk about. No excitement, no confidence, no voice in my head saying, this is going to work. Just effort. And effort without belief feels strange, like you're doing something you don't fully trust, like you're moving forward while secretly preparing yourself for disappointment. I didn't wake up motivated. I woke up questioning whether this was worth the time, questioning whether I was fooling myself, questioning whether I should stop before I went too far. But I worked anyway, not because I felt strong, but because doing nothing felt worse. Belief never showed up to help me. Confidence didn't arrive to carry the weight. If anything, doubt got louder the more I tried. Every small setback felt like confirmation. Every slow day felt like evidence. The inner voice didn't scream, it reasoned. See, this is why you shouldn't expect too much. See, this isn't really working. See, you're not like them. That voice is exhausting because it never sounds irrational. It sounds careful, protective, responsible. and listening to it too closely slows you down. I didn't trust myself enough to dream big, so I focused on the smallest thing I could control: showing up. No belief required, just action. I didn't tell myself this would lead somewhere. I didn't visualize success. I didn't pretend to be confident. I just did the work in front of me because it was the next step. That's when discipline quietly replaced belief. Discipline doesn't care how you feel. It doesn't need confidence. It doesn't wait for clarity. It just asks one question: will you do it again? And I answered yes, not passionately, not proudly, but consistently. There were days I wanted to stop because nothing felt right, days where effort felt empty, days where doubt made everything feel pointless. But stopping didn't feel honest either, because even without belief, something inside me wanted to know what would happen if I stayed. Not if I succeeded, if I stayed. I learned something important during this phase. You don't need belief to move forward. You need structure. Structure kept me going when emotion couldn't. Routine gave me something to hold on to when confidence disappeared. Small commitments mattered more than big ideas. I stopped asking myself how I felt about the journey and started asking what needed to be done today. That shift was subtle, but powerful. I wasn't inspired. I wasn't convinced. I was consistent. And consistency has a quiet effect on doubt. Not immediately, not dramatically, but over time. Doubt thrives in chaos, in irregular effort, in emotional swings. When you're inconsistent, doubt feels justified. But when you keep showing up, doubt has less to argue with. It doesn't disappear, so it just loses control. I didn't suddenly start believing in myself during this phase. I didn't feel confident. I didn't feel chosen. What I felt was steadier, less reactive, less fragile, less controlled by my thoughts. Working without belief taught me how to separate action from emotion. I didn't need to feel ready to act. I didn't need to feel capable to continue. That's a skill most people never build because they wait for belief to arrive first. Belief is unpredictable, discipline is reliable, and reliability compounds. I was still unsure, still questioning, still doubtful, but I was also still moving. And that movement mattered more than belief ever could at that stage. Because belief can lie to you, discipline doesn't. Discipline doesn't promise results, it just keeps the door open. And sometimes keeping the door open is the only thing you can do when you don't believe in yourself yet. There were moments when people did try to support me. Not everyone doubted me. Not everyone dismissed what I was doing. Some people encouraged me, told me to keep going, said they believed in me, and that should have helped, but it didn't. Because when doubt lives inside you, external support doesn't reach the place where it's needed most. Compliments felt uncomfortable. Encouragement felt undeserved. When someone said, "You're doing great," my first reaction wasn't relief. It was anxiety. What if they're wrong? What if I disappoint them? What if I'm letting them believe something that isn't true? That's a heavy feeling. Because now you're not just doubting yourself, you're afraid of proving others wrong. Support started feeling like pressure. Pressure to live up to expectations I didn't believe I deserved. Pressure to perform confidence I didn't feel. Pressure to succeed faster so I wouldn't look like a mistake people defended for too long. So I smiled, I nodded, I said thank you, and carried the doubt alone. That's the part people don't see. They think encouragement fixes insecurity. They think belief from others can replace belief in yourself. Sometimes it can't, because doubt isn't always about skill. Sometimes it's about identity. I didn't doubt whether I could improve. I doubted whether I belonged here at all. And that doubt makes you feel like an imposter even when you're doing the work honestly. I felt like I was pretending to be someone I wasn't. Like if I succeeded, it would be accidental. Like if things went well, it would only be a matter of time before people realized I didn't deserve it. That feeling doesn't go away with praise. It grows quieter, but heavier. I stopped talking about my internal struggles because I didn't want to sound ungrateful. I didn't want to reject support. I didn't want to explain something that didn't make sense even to me. How do you tell someone, "I hear you, I just don't believe it yet"? So I stayed quiet. I kept working, kept showing up, kept moving forward, while internally questioning every step. That loneliness is different from being alone. It's being surrounded by voices and still feeling isolated. It's having people believe in you while you're unsure you deserve that belief. And that conflict drains you. There were days when I wished people would stop encouraging me, not because I didn't appreciate it, but because it reminded me how disconnected I felt from their confidence. I wanted to feel what they saw. I just couldn't. So I learned to move without emotional alignment. I didn't wait for my feelings to catch up with my actions. I didn't try to force belief. I let the contradiction exist. I worked while doubting. I progressed while questioning. I stayed while feeling like I didn't belong. And that was uncomfortable. But it taught me something important. Belief isn't always the engine. Sometimes it's the byproduct. I stopped chasing belief and focused on behavior. I let my actions speak even when my mind argued. I also realized that waiting to feel worthy before continuing would keep me stuck forever. Because worthiness doesn't arrive first. It's built slowly, through consistency, through effort, through surviving days where nothing feels aligned. Support from others didn't change my doubt, but it showed me something else. It showed me that belief doesn't have to be unanimous for progress to happen. I didn't need everyone, including myself, to believe in me at the same time. I just needed to keep going. That realization didn't remove the loneliness, but it made it manageable. I stopped needing emotional certainty from every direction. I accepted that my internal world might lag behind my actions for a while. And that was okay, because progress doesn't wait for agreement. Sometimes you have to move forward while parts of you are still unsure. And staying during that internal conflict builds something deeper than confidence. It builds resilience. Belief never arrived the way I expected it to. There was no morning where I woke up confident, no sudden shift where doubt disappeared, no moment where I finally thought, okay, now I trust myself. What showed up instead was discipline. Quiet, unemotional, reliable. I kept doing the work without feeling ready for it, without feeling deserving of it, without feeling like it would definitely lead somewhere. And that repetition started changing something. Not how I felt, but how I functioned. I stopped negotiating with my emotions. I stopped asking myself whether I felt like continuing. I treated effort like a responsibility instead of a reflection of belief. That changed everything because belief is unstable. Some days it's there, most days it isn't. Discipline doesn't care. I showed up on days when doubt was loud, on days when my inner voice questioned every decision, on days when confidence felt completely absent and nothing dramatic happened. The world didn't collapse because I worked without belief. I didn't fail because I wasn't confident enough. I just continued. That consistency slowly created a pattern, and patterns create trust. Not blind trust, earned trust. I started noticing that even when my thoughts were negative, my actions were solid. Even when I questioned myself internally, my behavior stayed aligned. That separation mattered. For the first time, my progress didn't depend on how I felt about myself. It depended on what I did. And that's when self-trust began forming. Quietly. Not the kind that says, I'm amazing. The kind that says, I can handle showing up again. I didn't believe in my potential, but I started believing in my ability to continue. That's a different kind of confidence. I became less reactive, less shaken by small setbacks, less dependent on validation. I stopped overanalyzing every outcome to decide what it meant about me. I focused on process, one task at a time, one day at a time, one repetition at a time. Discipline stabilized me when belief couldn't. I wasn't driven by excitement. I wasn't fueled by hope. I was fueled by routine, and routine is powerful. Because routine removes decision-making. It removes emotion from action. It allows progress to happen even when your mind is arguing with you. I also realized something important during this phase. Most people don't fail because they lack belief. They fail because they stop acting when belief disappears. I didn't stop. I let belief lag behind my actions instead of leading them. And slowly, something shifted. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but one day I noticed that I trusted myself a little more than before, not because I felt confident, but because I had proof. Proof that I didn't quit when it was uncomfortable. Proof that I didn't collapse under doubt. Proof that I could move even when my mind wasn't on my side. That proof matters more than positive thinking ever could. Belief built on evidence is stronger than belief built on emotion. Discipline gave me that evidence. I became stable before I became confident. Consistent before I became sure. Grounded before I felt deserving. And that order matters because when confidence comes first, it's fragile. When discipline comes first, confidence lasts. I didn't turn into someone fearless. I turned into someone dependable to myself. And that's when doubt stopped being in control. It didn't disappear. It just stopped deciding. I realized I didn't need to believe in myself to move forward. I just needed to keep my word to myself. And that changed who I was becoming. If you don't believe in yourself right now, I want you to hear this clearly. You're not broken, you're not late, and you're not disqualified. You're just human, standing at the part of the journey most people never talk about. We've been taught that belief is the starting point, that confidence comes first, and action follows, that you're supposed to feel ready before you move. That idea stops more people than failure ever does. Because belief is unreliable. Some days you feel it, most days you don't. If belief was required to move forward, almost no one would. I didn't believe in myself when I started. I didn't feel special. I didn't feel chosen. I didn't even feel capable most of the time. And still, I moved, not because I trusted the outcome, but because I didn't trust quitting either. If I could speak to the version of myself who was stuck in self-doubt, the one waiting to feel confident before committing, I wouldn't try to motivate them. I'd tell them something simpler. You don't need belief. You need movement. Belief grows from evidence. Evidence comes from repetition. You don't wake up confident. You earn confidence by staying. Staying when you feel average. Staying when you feel unsure. Staying when the voice in your head keeps asking, who do you think you are? That voice doesn't mean you should stop. It means you're early. Most people wait for that voice to disappear before they continue. It never does. It just gets quieter once your actions prove you're not leaving. I didn't silence my doubt by arguing with it. I silenced it by outworking it. Not aggressively, not dramatically, patiently, day by day, task by task, promise by promise. I didn't need to believe in my potential. I just needed to keep my word to myself. And that's something anyone can do, that even on their worst days. If you're listening to this and thinking, I don't believe in myself, let me say this gently. You're not supposed to yet. Belief is a reward, not a requirement. It comes after discipline, after consistency, after staying longer than doubt expects you to. People you admire didn't start with unshakable confidence. They started by showing up while questioning everything. They didn't believe their way forward, they behaved their way forward. And that's available to you too. You don't need to feel worthy to continue. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need to feel certain. You just need to not quit today. Tomorrow can wait. Certainty can wait. Staying can't. If no one believes in you right now, including you, that doesn't mean you're alone. It means you're building something internally that doesn't depend on applause. And one day when belief finally shows up, quietly, naturally, it won't feel like hope. It will feel like recognition. Recognition of the fact that you didn't leave when leaving would have been easier, and that's what makes belief real. Not words, not motivation, staying.